God is good, and today, guys, we're going to be looking at Pantheon Rise of the Fallen from Visionary Realms and NPC behaviors and actions that have been added to the game and how exciting it is. And also, we're going to talk about what this actually means for the future of the game and your everyday, day-to-day combat in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, because it's pretty freaking huge. Before we begin, I want to give a big, major shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you all so very much for your support. I could not do this without you. You are the sponsors of this channel. And if you would like to help support this channel, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. And a very special shout out to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, Ray Cooper, We Smoke Bitcoins, and Tango Hotel. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Alright, so look, I gotta start this off by saying, check out that Mez animation. I don't think this has been shown publicly before. If it has, then my mistake for not catching it earlier, but check that out. Before we even get into all the juicy bits and details, I just gotta point out how cool that is. It's very noticeable. It'll be very obvious which of the mobs has been mezzed so that the group can react accordingly, and it's a cool looking animation of the time pendulum kind of thing, and I love it, and I just want to point that out before we even get started. Now, Joppa walked through some things they've added, some NPC behaviors, and really broke down what that means for gameplay and just how diverse all of it can be, depending on so many factors. How close to the mob are you, etc., etc. So let's take a look at some of the things Joppa said, and then I'll catch you on the other side.
We're watching this footage not to see, three people taking on and conquering a raid zone by themselves. We're watching this to see specifically how the NPC AI is taking shape and developing. Kyle, I asked you to make our NPC combat AI more robust, and we don't want to just see NPCs using cool looking abilities. We want to see them actually making meaningful decisions with those abilities, and we don't want to just see a healer NPC healing a wounded ally. We want to see them doing more than that. Maybe it's not just healing the ally, maybe it's breaking them out of a stun or out of a mez, or maybe it's calling it nearby,
whatever it might be.
Dispelling, exactly.
First off, let me say,
away,
we've been trying to improve how AIs respond in the heat of combat, how much of an impact that they feel like they could have in terms of a decision-making process, making them feel more alive in a way. So one of the things that we've had forever, pretty much, since we've had NPCs in the game, is the ability for them to cast ability. They've had threat, they'll cast that ability at whoever has the highest threat, and we've had the ability to augment that a little bit, limit them so they can only cast it when things are at a certain amount of health or whatnot. But really having a true spot for a designer to create some really custom targeting logic, like targeting the third person on the hate list of this mob that is a certain class, that has a certain amount of mana with this specific flag, stuff like that. So just fully custom condition creation for combat. It's kind of what we were diving into.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're talking about some scary stuff here. So we're talking about, did you hear what he said? Maybe the mob says, hey, who's the third highest on the DPS charts, right? Let me get that guy. So we're, very specific things. Who has low mana? Let me get that one. So this is the kind of gameplay I just want to point out right now. Many of you know that I played EverQuest 1 to 50 here last week with the new TLP server. And one major thing that really stood out to me is the diversity of the way that the NPCs behave. It's something you forget about sometimes. You kind of take advantage of it, or you kind of get used to it. But replaying EverQuest really taught me that, like, sometimes the NPCs behave in ways that I don't even know if it's by design in the case of EverQuest. Sometimes they behave in such a way that you're sitting there scratching your head saying, now why did that happen? And I remember our group several times saying, what did we do that caused that? Or what can we do to prevent that from happening next time and wiping the party, or almost wiping the party, or causing a train, and all these kind of things. And in retrospect, at the time, I'm going to be honest, I was kind of like, dang it, this is a pain in the butt. In retrospect, though, looking back at it, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun while I was doing it, too. But part of the fun of PvE is the environment mattering, right? And we got a lot of that, but the environment also includes the mobs. And if the mobs just auto-attack and do exactly what you would expect, then we're not really getting the kind of engaging gameplay that Brad McQuaid really wanted Pantheon Rise of the Fallen to have. So hearing things like this gets me really freaking hyped and excited. Anyway, let's continue.
And up until this point, it's just been an AI has a list of abilities. They'll randomly pick something from that list of abilities and try and cast it on whoever has the highest threat. Now, this new system that we've developed sort of is a jump-off point right before they begin that cast to let them choose a different person to cast on. And you'll see lots of examples of that here coming up. This ability describes a stun that this mob will try to do on a healer within 25 yards that is already casting something. So this AI is constantly looking around it for this ability to find a healer to interrupt with its stun, essentially. So as a healer, you need to be conscious that if this guy isn't currently doing something or casting or crowd controlled in some way, if I start casting, he might look over and nuke me for half my health and stun me for 3 seconds.
If you get too far away from the Eldritch, like just happened there with Sacred, they will cast an ability called Creeping Shackles, which actually grabs you and causes you to walk slowly towards the Eldritch, so they pull you back in. Boom, there it is. Okay, so we just got the interrupt on the heal. Kyle was trying to heal, and he interrupted that heal, and now Kyle just ran behind me. I'm going to turn here and get him in view in just a second, but he just ran away, and now he's out of range, and then you see the Eldritch turns and starts pulling him back in. And this, while that's happening, Kyle is stunned. Essentially, he can't use any abilities, can't move, and he's just pulling him straight in. These are the kind of foundational combat decisions that we want NPCs to be able to make. The degree and the frequency and the speed of like the synapse of response, it is something that can be dialed, but the point here is not to completely shut down players, obviously. If NPCs were immediately and always shutting down heals and stunning and CCing, nothing would be able to happen. So this is in a state right now where it's not interrupting every heal, but it's something that you need to be mindful of while you're fighting. It's something that you can't just rotely, like, I'm just going to heal all the damage that my tank is soaking up. I have to be mindful that I could be interrupted at just the wrong time, and so I need to be thinking about what are the other auxiliary abilities that I need to be using to minimize the risk of that.
The fight is entirely learnable in that sense, and you can counter and cast at strategic times so that as a healer you're not getting nuked and stunned. This is the ally purge. So if an AI sees a friendly target around them that is either stunned or mesmerized, they can dispel them. Me attempting to mesmerize one of the extra ads that we pull, the ad that we're fighting initially will see that and cast purge on his friend to get him out.
A little bit into the fight here, we're going to get an ad, and we're going to attempt to CC that ad, mesmerize that ad, and then we'll see the Eldritch deal with that. I love that ability, because you walk in and then you just kind of follow him around until it wears off. All right, so Eyeless mezzed, boom, turns, purges the mez, and the Eyeless is back in the fight. Forward a little bit to allow him to have line of sight to the Eyeless, and then he'll do the purge again.
That's awesome. So he's basically dispelling the crowd control.
So positioning is really, really important when fighting up here, especially because the Eyeless and then one of the NPCs we're going to see here in a bit have a lot of ways to knock you off of this thing if you're not careful. Which, again, you would learn fighting up here. Like that is horrible positioning, Kyle.
You're not even trying to get threat back. What is this?
No, because I want to see. There it goes. This we start off this fight just the Eyeless. The Eyeless is pretty standard fare. It's a tank. He's got a kind of an armor sundering ability with strike of breaking. He's got his shoulder crash, which is stunning me, or it has a chance, a 50% chance to stun me and knock me back a little bit. And then he's got a cleave, but by itself, not anything too crazy. The issue is when the Stormhand joins the fray, then you're going to start seeing a lot of chaos for our little trio here because of the targeting graphs we just talked about, where the Stormhand is has two abilities. The smoke trick. See, okay, let me stop. So you see how I'm kneeling down there, or just got knocked down. The whole time I was fighting with the Eyeless, it was pretty standard. Soon as the Stormhand joins the fray, the Stormhand has an ability that puts me into an off-balance state. You'll see it on the little debuffs that pop up. It looks like a scale, a weighted scale. Once I'm in an off-balance state, the Eyeless is going to see that and then use his knockdown. So there's off-balance, boom, and I just got knocked down. So that's an example of the synergy that you're going to start seeing, between the different NPCs. What you're also seeing in the background there was Kyle smoke trick, pepper sprayed, and then we've got the Eyeless popping behind me with the shadow step, and then popping over to Kyle for a lightning blade attack, which electrifies him. So that's what I mean by chaos. We go from a pretty standard tank and spank with the Eyeless. Now the Stormhand joins the fray. Healers are getting pepper sprayed. Healers are getting electrocuted. There's, shadow steps behind the tank. The tank's getting knocked down. With the introduction of one NPC, we're seeing all kinds of new effects. This would be considered a mini boss, if you will, in a raid context. But this NPC, it really is just the joy of watching this fight. So here we see the nightmarish push happening, and I'm so close to the edge. You see me spamming Essence Thief, boom, I got it off right before I fell, stayed in line of sight just enough to get back into battle. But then he pulls us all in, all three of us, and then there's the big explosion knockback. Beautiful ability. Positioning, again, very, very key in this fight. You've got a push that locks you in place and pushes you for the duration. And if you I won't spoil it, but you'll see me make some mistakes here on that front a few times. But love the fact that with something like Essence Thief, the Dire Lord has a way to, clutch, get back in and not eat a death from the falling distance.
Good old 20-second mesmerize on your healer back there. Only having one healer for this mini boss is not recommended. You need somebody else to dispel you out of that.
So that looked really fun to play, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of this dynamic combat kind of situation. And something they talked about during this stream that I wanted to touch on was that watching it in action is totally different than playing it, where you have to be very reactionary. You have to know what's going on. You have to pay attention to what's happening to the other members of your party and react accordingly so that you don't die. And the pushbacks, knocking the tank down prone, unmezzing the mob, all these kind of things really just change the way that you play, right? So the tank would realize, oh my gosh, he just unmezzed him. But over here, if I pull him over here, he's, line of sight him from his friend. He doesn't know his friend is mezzed, therefore he stays mezzed, right? These are the kind of gameplay elements that really make everything more engaging and fun. And this is why people get addicted to raiding, is because of the mechanics of learning the fight and starting off kind of getting your butt kicked, and then with the actual skill of knowing what to do and when to do it and how to do it, you become a master of it. And it feels so good to master a combat encounter. And there's going to be so many of them in Pantheon. And one more thing I really wanted to point out here is thanks to the refactor that was done, coding in these kind of gameplay elements into the specific mob types that they want all across Terminus is very simple for Visionary Realms to do. Once they get it working appropriately and the way intended, they can now apply that to any NPC in the world that they choose. So we're looking at each little element and each little gameplay mechanic ultimately peppered around the entire game. And it's much bigger than just, okay, cool, they fixed this one encounter, looks awesome. No. They can take elements of that and break it apart and place it anywhere in the world that they want with any NPC that they want. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean every NPC is going to do pushbacks and going to unmez their friendly targets. No. But when they want that to be applied, they can. And then when they decide to make some adjustments to one, it adjusts them all. So the refactor, that's one of many reasons that the refactor was such big news and I was so excited about it is because the coding process is much more fluent and universal, allowing them to make changes on a broader scale quicker. Anyway, guys, I thought this was super awesome. I thought this was an excellent stream, one of the best we've had in a very long time, because as far as I'm concerned, most of my time in Pantheon will probably be spent doing combat. So anything to do with combat is very exciting to me. Also, Joppa's armor looks freaking sweet, and I love all the spell effects and everything that we've seen during this video, and I hope you did too, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're as pumped as I am for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, and remember, we are a day closer to the launch. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.